Negan.
I am Negan.
What's up, people? Welcome to another episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast. We cover everything Walking Dead, especially the shows, all the shows. We got Walking Dead proper, we got Fear the Walking Dead, and of course that show, World Beyond, whatever, man. So my name is Adam Vale. I'm an editor over at the Koalition. I'm joined by editor-in-chief Richard Bailey Jr. and from Throwdown, Carlos Romero. What up, guys?
Yo. What up, people?
What's up, everybody?
Yes, man. So again, thanks everybody for following on Spotify and iTunes, and the people over in South America. Our numbers are pretty high over there. Kind of interesting.
Central America.
Oh, my bad. That's right. Central America. See, I got it. All right. So big shout out to everybody there. Everyone all over the place. It's been great, and we get it. This is the last season. You know, everybody wants to know what's going on. How is this thing going to end? I don't know. I have a feeling it's not going to end. And when the season's over, I'll go into my predictions of what I think is really going to happen here. But yeah, so real quick heads up, everyone. If this is a spoiler cast, so if you have not seen episode 3 from season 11, Hunted, which is what we will be discussing, I highly recommend you go to AMC Plus and you sub up, even if it's just for The Walking Dead and the season that comes out, and watch it, because they're dropping these episodes a week early. So yes, this is for episode 3 that airs September 5th. So if you don't mind spoilers, then keep listening, because we're going to break down this episode. But if you do, then just add this to your back burner and then go watch the episode. So remember, AMC Plus, you can go watch it right now, or you could just wait till September 5th. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, yes, this is season 11, episode 3, titled Hunted. I was right when I brought up last episode when we talked about the rest of the crew with Ezekiel and Eugene and them over at the Commonwealth. I'm like, that's going to be a big one. I'll be surprised if we see the back and forth, the split that we've been seeing for the past 2 episodes. And sure enough, poof, that's gone. That was not in this episode at all. So I'm hoping that episode 4, it's pretty much all Commonwealth, unless they decide to push that further back. But yeah, in this one, it's a 2-part we're going to cover. We got Carol's Alexandria crew and all that stuff happening. And then we have the Negan and the Maggie. So let's just get right into it. We'll start off with the lighter side, which I really felt, I don't know about you guys, but I felt like filler. It just felt like filler. And that's the Alexandria, that's the Carol and Aaron discussion. We see that Carol has been going off into the wild there, and it looks like she's just been trying to wrangle up some horses. They lost the horses. The food, the livestock, everything got spooked when all the workers came over to Alexandria last season. So she's trying to do that, and Aaron thinks that she's really running from what's the real problem. I'm like, I don't know what other problem. Everything is bad there. You do need horses. She breaks down that you do need horses. But I felt a lot of the scenes in this episode just went too long. And that was one of them, because I'm not sold on this. I'm not sold on her and Kelly and the whole horse thing. And I don't know. What did you guys think of that opening?
I kind of agree with you in a way. I mean, they have to do something with that group, because they've been dormant for all this time throughout the start of the season, and they have to make them they have to make them do something. You know, I guess it's just, how is Alexandria doing? You know, we're seeing the kids, playing Uno. I don't know what they were playing.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked like Uno. And I was wondering, I was like, who's the other kid? And that's Alden's kid, right? There was Alden's kid there.
Yeah.
There's Michonne, there's Judith, and Herschel.
It's Herschel, there's Judith, Michonne's
no, but
kid.
His kid's name is Adam.
Adam, I don't remember. Well, the one that I'm confused was the little girl.
Yeah,
that wasn't Judith.
The little girl is not. Oh man, that's a good question.
Well, she could be. What's his name?
No, that's Aaron's kid.
Aaron's
Aaron's kid.
That's
right.
kid.
Aaron's kid, because he has it. That's right. So I don't know where Adam is, because later on when we flipped to the other side, Alden keeps talking about Adam, and that was his little voice. So I don't know. All right, keep going.
Yeah. So it's they have to do something with the group. We have to see how it's going. I do agree with the whole Carol and Kelly stuff, that part just confused me. I have no clue. Maybe I missed something, but I'm kind of I'm confused about the
So
whole situation.
I think they're trying to connect the whole thing that happened with the cave in with Connie,
Yeah, yeah,
and that, remember how Carol took the blame for all of that. And so we see later on one of the members of the group is trying to tell her, it's like, listen, I see what you're doing. You're trying to make up, and give hope to Kelly that Connie's still around, but that's not what's happening here. She's not. So stop trying to bring her along and do these outings and this whole thing. So I think that's the connection between
okay.
Carol and Kelly.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. It's sometimes I forgot that Carol was the one that was responsible for Connie's disappearance. Um, but yeah, that
Well,
makes a lot of sense
easy.
now.
It's easy to forget because people also seem to forget that this is one of the few shows that still keeps with the old school long format of over 20 episode seasons. Nowadays,
Right.
we have shows that are like 10 episodes, maybe 13. Hell, UK shows are like 6 episode seasons. So you can remember all that. But when you start adding in the 20s, hour-long episodes with so many characters, there are so many characters in this show. It's easy
Right.
to mix up on what the hell's going on.
Yeah. So it's just, I think it's necessary just to understand the dynamics of the characters and what they're going through and, how they're surviving. But I do think it did drag on a little bit longer than it should, obviously because the whole, Maggie and Negan stuff is just really compelling to me. So
Yeah.
obviously I'm going to think that, I want to see more of that. But I do understand why they are doing the whole Alexandria bit. And I don't really mind it for the most part.
And also, there's some little holes here because if you remember, and they even showed it with the group when Daryl, when Maggie first said, "Hey, I know where food is. We have to go back and get this food," and Daryl's like, "Yeah, let's go do it." Everybody agrees, and Carol's there, and she agrees also, but it's clear that she didn't go. Now we didn't see her in the subway, and we figured, all right, whatever, she was there. But then again, they didn't acknowledge what happened with that. So I guess everybody else.
Well, Carol and Daryl are kind of, they're still kind
Yeah,
of.
they're still dealing with their
There's
issues.
still a little bit of tension from what happened in the previous season. So I think being together isn't maybe the best at this moment.
Yeah. So the next part, and again, we're sticking to what's going on with this Alexandria crew. We see that she's out there. She has Kelly. She has a few other team members. They go out there and they try to capture a horse, and that doesn't go well. The horse gets spooked. It runs off. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll keep trying. And then they eventually track down the horse, but it's like parts. So it's been attacked. It's sad. So they're all upset about it. I'm just like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And again, it's like all this is happening. And if you watch the episode, then you know what we're talking about. It's like it was a little piece, a snippet of this, and then back to what we really want to see with Negan and Maggie and all that stuff. And then it comes back to this, and it's like, all right, what are we doing? It's like the tracking, okay. And then they find a whole group of the horses. And I'm trying to understand this though, because were these horses they already had? These were already their horses, and she's just trying to wrangle them up, or these new horses? Because it wasn't till toward the end of that whole segment with the horses where there's like, we can bring them to the dairy farm. They're all together. It's like, it's okay. We can grab them. We can get them. And then they bring them we don't see them actually wrangle them up. We just see that they're next to this dairy farm. They open up the pen and they let them all in, and they realize that they're not running all over the place. They want to go back. So I was like, oh, so you had these, but none of them have saddles, which is why I'm confused. Because if these were already your horses, and we know that the group had horses, they all had saddles on them. So none of these horses had saddles, so they looked wild. But then again, if they know who you are, they're not going to run with you. If they've already broken in, I should say, they're not going to run. So why were they running? Why was that first one that they approached running away? I don't know. The whole thing with the horses. Yeah, go, Rich.
I mean, I would only speculate that obviously the horses are a little uncomfortable because of whatever happened with the attack. Because you saw the horse, the pieces of the horses all around the ground. Very graphic visual, by the way. So I I would assume that they was a little uncomfortable. They didn't really, I guess, know whether or not they were going to kill them or actually try to capture them. And but that's the only explanation I could think of in regards to what was said earlier about the thoughts on this particular storyline. I do think it was necessary to show the struggles that this particular group is facing, and then the whole irony of, well, yes, we have to get the horses, but then you see in this same storyline, Carol kills the horse, and that is also food to feed the actual community.
Yeah. Now that horse, there was something already wrong with it because it laid down, and usually horses don't lay down. I don't think they ever lay down. So I assume there was something wrong with that horse. I mean, they didn't really. They just show her bringing the horse into the barn, laying it down, stroking it, and then, But yeah, it's. I don't know.
It might have been sick. We don't. I don't think we know.
We know, right?
So what I interpreted is that they kept saying that obviously they don't have enough resources to survive, so sooner or later they were going to have to start killing these horses, and that was. I assume that we're low on food. Now we have to kill a horse.
Oh yeah,
that's why
definitely,
she did.
Definitely toward the end of the episode. I got the same idea there because we'll get into that now because there wasn't a lot going on with this. So actually, once they get all the horses, they're like, "All right, we're good. We got them. Everything is fine." So then that's where we get to that scene where Carol brings one of them into the barn. She gets a pan ready. She slices his throat. She gets the blood out and. That she had to do what she had to do. And we know that they eat the horse. They don't really say it, but we know it because later on some of the meat is brought to the children. And that's when Judith was testing everyone. I think, what's it, CJ? I think that's his name. The little boy, Michonne and Rick's kid. He was like, I'm not having any of this. No thanks. And then Herschel, and this is... I'm telling you, they're really, really. I mean, the producers, the writers are really trying to make Maggie turn into a character that is like this ultimate rebel badass. And yeah, 6 years, a lot can happen, but I don't know if she was killing horses on her own because Herschel was like, yeah, you have to take small bites. You got to eat small bites, and then it goes on easier. We had to do the same type of thing out on the road. I'm like, so she was killing horses on the road and cooking them and doing all this? I mean, come on now. Like, it's just something.
Yeah, survival. She has to survive one way or another. So, I guess so.
I'm just surprised that even like the other kids never had a meat before. I guess. I mean, obviously, is CJ's name? I forgot the little Michonne and Rick's kid.
I think it's Rick Jr.
Is it Rick Jr.?
Yeah. I'm thinking that he's Rick Jr. I'm just thinking that he was too young when they were eating,
Oh yeah, he doesn't know. He's always been in Alexandria, and Judith, she knows a little bit from being out in the wild, and of course all the stuff that she's encountered, killing walkers and stuff. But Aaron's kid, I don't know. I know she's been around, but I don't know how much of that she's familiar with. But even Judith says she's like, we've had it hard, but we never had it that hard. They've always had a farm and stuff. She wasn't part of that whole group traveling constantly on the road. At least she was a baby. She doesn't remember any of that. Look at the flowers and all that. So it's definitely interesting though. But we did get, I don't know if I want to call it a teaser, but it was. It's always, you always have to just consider that they're saying certain things for a reason. And when the kids were talking. Right before they had the meal and were playing Uno, and they were talking about the adults going out on trips. And Judith says, yeah, well, the adults always come back. Mom says she's coming back. Mom is going to come back. That's Michonne she's talking about. And so they wrote that in for a reason. They're planting that seed that Michonne is coming back. That's the way I took it, because that was not needed. That whole scene, that whole, the kids just hanging out, just, shooting the breeze, playing Uno. They could have talked about anything else. They didn't have to throw that in about Mom coming back.
I'm surprised that she's not that she didn't mention her dad. I mean, obviously she barely knows him, but it's just surprising that she's like, oh yeah, mom's bringing dad back or something like that.
Well, she knows mom was gonna come back, and then they were talking about, I was like, yeah, well, this is what they do. The adults, they go out there and they do their thing, whatever. Which also very nonchalant, but come on, Judith, you know what's out there. I think that's the other thing that sort of bothers me with all this. It's like, yes, you have to have some normalcy of playing Uno and kids just being kids, but she's seen the harshness of the road out there in the world, just like Herschel has. So for her to not be concerned the way she was like, oh, well, they're out there and doing their thing. It's just the way, do. No, it's like, I would have just changed that up to be like, all right, listen, just say this with some concern. Maybe deliver the line like, well, they're always out there, and hopefully things work out and they come home. We got to hope for the best. Mommy's coming home. Yeah, she was like, that's just the way they are. It's like, yeah, and then what happens when they don't come back? Then what? What if whatever? But yeah, so then that's it. So then they're eating horse meat. They don't have to say it. We know it. And that was it. Because there really was nothing else that was going on here. I mean, we saw a little bit with the Kelly, and you brought that up, where one of the members of the group who is in a relationship with Kelly tells Carol to stop doing this, stop putting false hopes. What are you talking about? And I think maybe that character's looking too much into it. Because I think that what it is that Carol wants to go out there. She wants to be productive. She still blames herself for a lot of things that have gone wrong. And Kelly's a go-getter. Kelly always wants to go and do things. Remember, she wanted to go out with Daryl to go and do missions, and so it's not like you have somebody who's just hanging out on, throwing rocks and just kicking around the dirt. No, Kelly wants to be a part of things. So it just makes sense. So I don't understand why it's like, oh, you're just trying to make up for what you did with Connie. It's like, no, I really don't think she's thinking that serious into it and that deep into it. So what do you guys think? You think I'm right with that, or you think Carol does have that guilt?
Oh yeah, I think she's gonna have this guilt for the rest of the season, and I'm wondering, if some of that is, or I'm pretty sure that some of that's gonna lead to sort of what the spinoff is going to be. It's not only that guilt; it's how that guilt has caused a slight rift between her and Daryl. And maybe even between her and the rest of the Alexandria crew. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to lead to something, bigger after even the show even ends.
And this is why I'm saying this. I don't think it's ever really going to end. We're calling it Carol and Daryl because that's what they said they're getting, but I don't think that's going to be the name of the show. I think it's going to be something else. And who's to say? It's not. Yeah, if they're mentioning those two characters as the two main characters, doesn't mean they won't have a crew with them. They're probably going to have a group, and they're going to do something else. It's just going to be Carol and Daryl who are the main characters from The Walking Dead proper that are going to be on it. But then again, that can go out the window because we heard that with Fear. Oh, Fear's going to be separate. Fear's going to be its own thing. We're not going to see any crop. Yeah, we did. When they had the mass exodus of all the main characters just up and leaving, they were like, all right, now we had to scramble. Next, we got Morgan pulling a Kung Fu, traveling across the country, popping up. And we got Dwight showing up, who also did the journey. He got in his car and went looking for his wife and ended on the other side, over in the West Coast. So they did it. So it's possible. That's why it's like, I don't think this is the end. And the more that this goes on, the more I keep thinking about, I don't think we're going to see a bunch of major character deaths. I just don't see it.
Oh well, that's to be determined.
Yeah, that's definitely to be determined. Yeah.
I kind of feel like there has to be some major characters that do die by the time this season is over.
Oh, speaking of death, proved another point, and we'll get into it now because that's it for this. Whoop, we wrapped that part up. So now let's get into the heart of this episode, which is the Negan's crew with Maggie. So when we last saw them, they closed out the last episode where they had just reached, which I thought was the radio tower. Right? That's what I thought because they all said, it was like, hey, we're here. Oh, things look different. But as you hear the characters talking in this episode, they're not there yet. They're just on the road, and this is just some location that they just, some structures that they just got attacked on the road. So we see that it's really dark. There's knives being thrown all over. These guys are amazing knife throwers. That's all I'm saying. These guys are on point with their knife skills. Right? So a lot of that, we're hearing all the flying all over the place. Everyone's scattered. They separate, right? So we're now tracking with Maggie. Maggie's running around. She's fighting one. Boom. She kills one, and that's it. So that was just the opening scene. Now we just planting the seed that, hey, this is it now. We just divided them up. And that's what Walking Dead usually does. Whenever you see the group, they never usually stay together. Something happens that they get separated, right? They either run off, somebody ends up missing, there's a herd, they got to split the herd. There's always something. Got to find something, right? Like, what do I always say, Carlos? Got to have something. So
Gotta have something.
Gotta have something. So here we go. And this is it. So now we don't really know what's going on. But the show does, and it says you're going to follow Maggie. Right? Because this is it. Let's see what's going on, Maggie. So Maggie, she gets into a structure of some sort. She goes downstairs. It was interesting because when those stairs are very wide. I don't know why I thought she was going back into the subway tunnel. Like she found another subway stop. And I was like, oh, I'm just going to go down here. But she goes down there, start hearing different sounds, not typical Walker sounds. And it's another one of the jabroni guys, the Reapers. She takes him out, or she's trying to take him out, having a big fight, whole big thing. And if my notes are correct, she fights that one off. She kills that one off. But then as she progresses, our boy Alden shows up again. And he's like, oh, ready about to talk. And then he gets attacked. So while he's fighting, then she gets involved, starts trying to fight him off, and then she doesn't do a good job, and the guy's on top of her, and then that's when Negan comes to the rescue. Did I get that whole altercation correct?
Well, she didn't kill
the
guy.
Other. She fought him off.
She fought him off. She kicked him down the stairs, and somehow he survived that, and then you can hear him running back. So she's like, all right, I'm dipping.
That's it. That's why I don't know why for a second there, because it was dark. When he fell down, I just assumed he died, and that the footsteps was another one of those. Another Reaper, but it wasn't. So we see Negan. Now this is part, maybe somebody can fill this in on me. So we see that there's an explosion. We hear it. What happened? How did that happen?
Well, when she had the altercation with the guy, that was, when they were on the ground together, she stabbed him in the head with a broken bottle glass. That's when Negan came in and attacked him.
Yeah.
And he threw a grenade he threw a grenade after that before he died. And
that's what that was. Because I wasn't sure if there was some chemicals there. I'm like, I don't know where we are. Maybe there's something that's flammable that's in that area. But then how did it trigger? Because it was like a fire blast and they were all sort of confused and stunned. It was weird. Just the way that explosion occurred. But, that's what we got there. And the importance of this scene is that now Alden is hurt. He's got a bum leg. So it's like, all right, this is it. And Maggie was like, all right, well, she doesn't acknowledge anything with Negan. Of like, wow, you saved us, you're helping us. None of that. So she was like, all right, we got to keep going. He's like, are you serious? We're not going. We got to go back. Look at this. They own this whole area. This is it. We're done. This is all we have. We don't know what happened with everybody else. We got to go back. She's like, no, we got to keep going. We need the supplies. And it's like, all right, here we go. So now they're scooching along. And this is what we talked about in the last episode. Stay off the roads. Right? Why are they on the roads? And this is what Negan says. He's like, we got to get off the roads. And we got to go through it. And they're like, no, we move faster on the roads. Which is true, especially if you're carrying a guy who's limping on one leg. Yeah, he's going to bump into the brush and twigs and trip and all that stuff. And also, there's a downfall. You do make a lot of noise when you're walking through all that. So that's another thing, as opposed to the road. Not so much noise, but you're very visible. So this is the part that I threw me off, is because they were like, no, we have to get to the radio tower. Where were you? That's the thing. It's like they clearly said we're here, because remember Negan was like, this is not how it used to look when I was here. Things had changed, and referring to the dead bodies. But then it's, no, you're not there. So now where are you going? Are you still going? I guess they're still going to, because then they keep saying we need the supplies. Well, yeah, you need supplies, but that was why you were going to your old camp. So are you still going to your old camp, or are you going to the radio tower?
See, I think that they lost track of where they were and how to get there, because, immediately after they escaped the subway, they now come into this situation with the Reapers. So I think that threw a lot of people off. And one key part to mention is that there were a lot of people that got killed, and we saw at the beginning of this episode people getting their throats slit. And I that led me to believe, well, the group is also separated now because you didn't see other characters, and it looks like next week's episode is about Daryl confronting that group.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
so everybody is a little scattered all over the place. I guess that right now Negan and Maggie, their mission is to get to the radio tower, but I just guess they got redirected. They got distracted because of all the stuff happening with the Reapers. So that's why they don't know where they're at right now, but they're trying to get there.
And since you brought it up, there's only one other character that we get to see what happened to, really, and that's Father Gabriel, aka Killer Priest.
That wasn't the only one, but we'll talk about that later.
But he's the key one. He's the key one. He's one of the old school guys. So we see him, and he's wandering out there. He's hurt. He took a knife out of his leg, so he's also limping. But not like Alden, he's able to walk. So he's out there. So he comes across one of the Reapers just laying on the ground. He looks like he's about to die, and the Reaper is like, "Oh." He goes into this whole speech like, "Can you say a prayer for me? Father, can you say a prayer?" He's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, I'm not." What? He just like didn't really respond. He's like, "No, you have to do it." He's like, "No, you tried to kill me and my people." He's like, "Yeah, and your people tried to kill us." So it goes back to like, oh, who's really wrong here? Well, we have to admit Reapers are wrong because they didn't even try to parlay or anything. They just started throwing knives. They just said, "We're gonna kill you." What happened to like, "Hey, what's up? You want to trade?" No. So you can't bring that. That doesn't apply here. None of that. We're all doing what we have to do. That's BS. So. He's like, aren't you still, a man of God? He says something to the effect, and he looks at him and he says, he's like, there is no God here. And he just kills him. He kills him. And
he's like, no, he didn't say that. He said, God's not here.
That's it. That's the quote. God's not here.
And now we see why they highlighted this character when they had them bonus episodes, because they wanted you to remember that these characters, they've gone through some things and they're changed. And this character completely changed because he's not even still alive in the comic at this point, correct?
Yeah, no.
So yeah, it's a different character now.
yeah. He's this
is Gabriel.
There you go. And that's the thing. That's why it's still kind of interesting that Aaron, who was also part of that special episode with Gabriel, he's still back at the base. You would think with his big robo arm and stuff, they would have him out on mission, smashing heads, but that's not the case here. So he kills him, and that was it. So if that's the case, if God is not here, Father Gabriel, then take off the collar, let it loose. That's it. You're done. If not, I don't know. But I thought that was a cool line though, and that's why I was like, oh man. That would have been great if they would have had that as the title of this episode, as opposed to just hunted. So there goes that part. So then now we're back with Maggie and Alden and Negan, and so they get to another area of structures, and you hear screaming, and they were like, "Oh, we have to go that way." We're hobbling, and Negan was like, "Yeah, let's keep going where the screaming is," So. Of course, once we get there, it's the woman that was part of the... what was her name? I forgot to write it down. She was one of the three of the... She was one of the... Agatha. Right? And so she's being attacked by a bunch of walkers. So Maggie goes and she helps, and Negan also gets involved, and then Alden is in the back, and one comes to get him. I'm like, oh, this is when he dies. But no, he stabs it in the head. He's able to fight off and do the whole thing. But we look down on the ground, and Sasquatch has fallen. That's it.
Man, that dude, I wanted him to survive because that dude looks like he could protect the whole village, man.
Yeah. But you know what? They already have another big dude back at the base. Remember the one that was with Ezekiel?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm blanking on his name. So many characters, but you know what I'm talking about. That was his right hand man, the big burly dude. He's still alive. For now they showed him in those 3 episodes, but toward the last season, but he's still there. Oh man, I forgot his name. He has a family now. He has a wife and kid and stuff. But but this is what I brought up before when they introduced these other characters that were coming in. She was like, "Oh, you kept up with us. You found these are the ones that you're gonna kill off." along with some other people. And that's what we saw earlier in the episode, people getting their throats slit and stuff. And so now here it is. So Sasquatch is down. He's like, oh, I can't make it. This and this and this and that. It's like, okay, we sad. It's sad. All right, so there goes that. So they're like, all right, what are we going to do? We got to keep going. And as they keep going, now they're back in like a wooded area. And this is why it's like, I really wish we had a map. Like, I get with that Negan is your map, so it's all in his head. So us, the viewers, don't really know. But it's like, where are you? Because at 1 minute now, it looked like you were in a town with structure and stuff. But no, this is not where you need to be. And next minute, you're back in a wooded area. And you see a walker that's tied up to a tree. I couldn't read what it said at the top, even when I paused and zoomed in. Can you read that? What did it say? Please tell me somebody could read that.
I don't know.
There was a plaque right above him of the walker.
It said Judas.
Judas.
Oh, Judas. Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so there we go. So I guess implying there was a traitor in their group. But he was, he was unrecognizable. So he was clearly there for a long time. So he's tied up to this tree. And all of a sudden, all these walkers show up. They're all around them now. And so they're fighting them off. And this is one of the few times, because we always hear about this. And when you talk to people that are no longer watch The Walking Dead, they're like, those walkers are slow. You're young. Just run. Just run away from them. And that's right. You could do that, but they don't. But at this point, it makes sense because Alden can't run unless they decide to leave him behind. So they're like, oh no, we have to fight them off. And sure enough, Agatha gets bit on the arm. She's screaming, and they're all, next they all swarm to her. And I like how they do it in the comic, because what happens is, in the comic, whenever one gets bit, and I guess that smell of like the tear and the fresh blood, all the other walkers get attracted to that smell, and they will stop who they were chasing to go and get the quick meal. They're like, oh wow, there's already one dead here. Let's just get that one. And so that's what happens here. We see that the ones that were still alive, that were fighting Negan and Maggie and Alden, now swarm over Agatha. And Maggie's like, no. I'm like, she's fighting like she's gonna go do something. What are you gonna do? It's once you're bit, you're bit. It's not like, okay, we can help out. No, There's one on her neck. There's one on the leg. They're all over the place. It reminds me of that scene with from Dusk Till Dawn with the son, when he gets caught by all the vampires and they're all like sucking on different parts, and then he's telling the sister to shoot him, So, that was such a good movie. I love that movie, Until Dawn. So anyway, they pull her away. That's it with that. Agatha is gone. So Sasquatch is gone and Agatha is gone. So there goes that. So the next scene now we see that there was a big cross. Is this a church? Is that what they were trying to say? This was a church?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So they get into a church. Obviously it's an abandoned church. And now they're trying to figure out what to do. And Negan is like, yeah, we're done. This is not going to happen. We don't know where everybody else is. This is not going to work out. Maggie's like, oh, this is how you are, and this and that. You haven't changed. You can't be part of this group. She sort of mentioned that earlier, too. She still doesn't trust him. And he's like, hey, 6 years. A lot has changed. I have changed. She doesn't buy him, right? She doesn't buy it. But she brought that up earlier in this episode, and then that comes back here again. She's like, no. And this is where Alden agrees. He was like, you know what? You got to leave me. I'm slowing you guys down. I'm not going to make it. Who knows how far you got to go, but I can't do it. I'm in a lot of pain. So what are we going to do? And this part dragged. There was a lot of cuts, and there was some scenes, extended scenes, and I get it. They're zooming in on Maggie's face for the emotion and all that. I'm like, that only works when the viewer is truly invested in the characters. Yes, we're invested in Negan and somewhat with Maggie, but Alden, who cares? I don't know anyone that really cares. Replace Alden with Aaron, who is a semi-sub character, and I think you'd get more of a reaction. But I personally was like, whatever. Whatever. I don't care. Or hell, even replace, if you really want that emotion, replace Alden with Carol. Put Carol there. I was like, oh, damn. Yeah, well, what can she do? Well, she could fight, but man. Is this it? Is this her time? But then again, we know, like you said, the Carol and Daryl's show, so then that wouldn't work. But, so, she starts thinking about it, and I felt like this went on way too long. But then eventually she leaves some supplies, she gives him a weapon, the whole thing's like, all right, this is it. We're coming back for you, though. We're going to close this up. You see Negan put up a door or something? He closes something up on the side. He was like, all right, this is it. So they leave.
Yeah.
They leave him there. And so that's it. He's going to just stay there and hope that they come back. She says, I'll be back. And he's like, all right.
I don't think that Alden will survive. The wounds that he has is pretty significant. I would imagine, if you pass out, you start losing blood, he could definitely turn. So we'll see how that goes, but I don't see a happy ending for that character.
Oh, if he dies, if he drains out and he dies, and of course they'll turn there. But that's too predictable. I have a feeling if they do come back, I think it'd be cool if they do come back and he's multiplied, meaning like there's more people. Hell, there were some other people that needed help, and I let them in, and now we have a whole group here. I have a camp. I'm their leader, and so I'm gonna stay here. This is my church.
Yeah. You know what would have been something I would have done, and this is how dark I think. I'll be like, hey man, it's over. Just use me. You need food? Just use me. Don't tell them.
Oh no. Cannibalism. Oh, they haven't gone. Don't tell anybody. Just make some pork shoulders. Let's do this.
They've The Walking Dead has done cannibalism with that one group.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think they would ever do it with the protagonist.
Yeah. They've had times where they were hungry, and with Rick's crew, I said, "We gotta go out. We'll find food." They
gotta get Carl.
Yeah, Carl, let's go. Gotta hunt for the group. Yeah, we gotta survive. No, they've never gone down, and it's not that situation. It's not dire yet. They can still walk and go out and find stuff, and they had supplies. Remember, on the road, you saw Negan chomping on something, and he says, "What, you like the cardboard or whatever?" So they clearly eating some dried up beef jerky that tastes bad, but it's still okay. It's not like a winter storm, and they had to hunker in, but yeah. And so that's it. So they agree. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll let you be, and we'll be back. And then he moves like a big chest against the door, and that's it. Am I forgetting anything else? I think that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It ended kind of suddenly, the episode.
Yeah.
They always do those cliffhanger
Yeah,
kind
there
of
was no
moments.
cliffhanger in this episode. It's not end with what we see in the trailer for the next episode, and I guess we'll get into a little bit of that right now then, because that actually had some spice into it, because it shows it's like, all right, so now we see that Negan, Daryl and a few other people, but I think it's just the main one they focused on, Daryl. They've been captured by the Reapers, so the Reapers didn't want to kill everybody, and they have a leader, and their leader is more of a cult type. We're bringing cults back all together. We had cults from last season with Teddy over in Fear the Walking Dead, and now we're bringing the cults here. And the reason why I also say that is because of just the conversation that one Reaper had with Father Gabriel. The fact that he even cared about, please say a prayer for me. Like, what? Why would you even care? So it's a lot of religion is connected to this, and we find that out with that little teaser for the next episode.
Perhaps they are building this as the antagonist to face off against Father Gabriel.
Oh yeah, and, of course. Well, you know that this show, if Gabriel makes it to the end, he's gonna find God again. There's no way they're going to let.
I actually don't think he will survive.
You don't think? All right. Well, that's the thing. That's right now. It's a coin toss. Because he did survive in the comic, but he's here. Carol also didn't survive, and she's still here. So they threw a bunch of little variables here and there. So anything can happen. Of course, Gabriel and Daryl's not even in the comic, so he's a wild card altogether. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely interesting to see with all of this and where they're going to go, especially since it seems like this is going to be a long journey for them. Meaning for Negan and Maggie and whatever happens with that whole crew there, this battle. Because, all right, I could throw in my predictions, because this was a pretty short episode. I think, this is my prediction, people, so if you're listening, this is what I think is going to happen. This is the end game. This is what I think is going to happen. The battle with Negan and Maggie and Reapers and all that stuff is going to get really bad. Someone is going to, maybe it's Father Gabriel, someone will go back to try to get help. Right, back to Alexandria. Maybe they get Aaron, and then Aaron was like, all right, we need to build an army, we need to do something. But at this point, things are going to work out with the Commonwealth. And we're going to see Eugene bring Mercer and all that crew, his soldiers, down to integrate Alexandria. To like say, hey, listen, we're going to introduce ourselves, but we're going to bring you people over because you're going to vouch. Because we were good people. They're going to prove that they're good people. And I was like, we have other good people. But once they get there, Aaron is going to tell them, hey, Maggie, Negan, everybody, they're in trouble. There's a really bad group. And we need to save them. And I think that's going to be the big battle. That is going to be the big battle. That because we know, and the reason why I'm saying all this is there's almost no army at Alexandria to keep fighting. Just a lot of them died during the whole Whisperer thing. So there's no big army, and we can't have. It's clear there's a lot of these Reapers. They're well organized and they're spread out, and you're going to need some help. Maybe this is what we see Rick show up. Maybe this is when we see Michonne and some connection. But I think that they're going to have to integrate the Commonwealth, especially with their military force. The fact that we see Mercer and we know there's a military force. They're going to have them mesh together. And we can't say, oh, well, the Reapers are going to then go and attack the Commonwealth. They don't even know about the Commonwealth. That's like on two separate parts of the planet for all they know. You know what I mean? So that's not going to happen. So how do you connect the dots? You have to connect the dots somehow. So somebody who knows what's going on with Negan and them has to make it back to Alexandria, because no one from that group knows anything about what's going on with the Commonwealth. And the same thing with Alexandria. They don't know where Eugene, they know where he went, but they don't know where the Commonwealth is. So to have to connect the dots, a group from the Commonwealth will need to go back to Alexandria. Now, in the comic, there is somewhat of a connection of that happens, but it's not with this big battle. But that's why I'm still thinking that's how we're going to connect the dots. But I don't know. But what do you guys think? What do you think of this episode and how the season's going so far?
Yeah, I thought this episode was pretty good. I think the stuff that you're talking about, yeah, that's endgame stuff. We're slowly leading towards that. I'm not sure myself how it's all going to unfold and how all the pieces are going to come together. But and I'm still not even sure if the Reapers are the final boss per se of this mainline show. Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see. It could be someone else. And how Rick and Michonne are going to integrate into all of this. But yeah, overall, I really like this episode. I hope the next episode is going to be pretty cool because it's going to be the Daryl ops. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Rich.
Yeah, I personally think, just my opinion, this is probably the best episode I've seen so far this season.
Whoa!
And I say that because it really is about the simple fact that they're not hesitating to kill other characters. Like Maggie's group, the whole thing with Maggie and Negan is interesting because Maggie relied on this group to help her out, and this was her idea to do this mission and be in charge of this mission. So to see all of that coming undone and that she has to work with Negan, it makes me very eager to see how their journey is going to end together, and whether or not once they actually are in a safe space, will she turn on him or vice versa. So I think it was an important episode because it raises the stakes in terms of there's a lot of the main characters that are still around. Some of the secondary characters have been killed off. So now you have to focus in on what's happening in these stories a lot more closely. So as far as the storyline between those two characters, I think that is the best storyline so far this season. The Commonwealth stuff is interesting, but clearly that's a slow burn compared to this because a lot of stuff has happened already in only 3 episodes. So, but yeah, I thought it was an excellent episode. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next week.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I'm really surprised. Really surprised you thought this was better than the first one. I really liked the intro of the first episode. They just got right into it. But this one, and I think it's not so much the Negan story. I love that part. But I felt the whole Carol and Alexandria thing just dragged. It just didn't really offer anything else. It's filler. Because none of that really applied to, yes, we understand there's some conflict Carol is still dealing with. And I think that's going to remain forever. It's sort of like this whole Maggie thing. Does she still hate Negan? Yes. Will she always hate Negan? Of course. Can she work with him now? Only by necessity. But she doesn't really want to. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with both of them as they go into the next part. And who knows? Maybe in the next episode, we still won't see them connect with Daryl. We saw the teaser with Daryl, but we didn't see them with him. So maybe they don't even make it that far. And they go in a different direction. And again, I'm still confused. What supplies are they going? They still going for the radio tower, or are they going back to her old camp? Because I don't know, but we will see. Well, whatever. We still got another episode, a few more, a whole lot more. What am I talking about? We got over like 20 episodes coming. All right, people. Thanks again for listening and checking us out over on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify. And we'll see if a few other areas, because we've been getting approached from some others. But thanks again. Hope you enjoyed it. And we will be back next week, everybody. Peace.